Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back to Crafts by KMW. I'm Karen. Thank you so much for watching this video and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please give it a thumbs up to like the video. And if you're not already subscribed, please smash that button to get access to all of my previous videos as well as notification of when I post new ones like this one. I'd like to shout out to all my subscribers. Your support is appreciated more than you know, and I hope you are enjoying the channel. You can also check me out on Facebook and Instagram as well. So today's video is a color along. I haven't done one in a little while, so I thought this would be a great time to do one. And I decided to do one to fulfill one of the challenges that I gave myself and anybody else who wanted to participate in January. I actually have a coloring challenges video on my channel if you'd like to check that out. And one of the challenges I gave to myself is to color a page all in one color, shades and tones of one color. I have done that sort of in the past, but I've used other colors as well, like neutrals, black, white, gray, etc. So today I'm actually going to only use one color. So as you can see, the book that I've chosen is Millie Marotta's Wildlife Wonders. And this is the page that I've chosen to do, which is a crab. I'm not exactly sure what kind of crab it is. This is a compilation book of hers, so she doesn't have all the animals listed. So I'm going to make it a blue crab because I have chosen blue for my color. So these are the shades that I've picked out. There are 33 of them, and these are Brutfuners from the Brutfuner 520 set. So I made myself a cheat swatch sheet. So this just lists all of the colors that I've pulled out so I can pick the ones that I want and make sure that I get the shade that I want in the particular spot on the page. So I'll be referring to that quite a lot. So in addition to the blue pencils, I have my gel pens accessible. I have several blues. I also have my chalk pastel sticks, which I'll be using most likely on the background. And then I also have my chalk pastel pencils, which are Stabilo Carbothellos. I have a blender, which is the Prismacolor colorless blender. I love it. I use it for every colored pencil, doesn't matter what kind it is. And then I have an eraser. Hopefully I won't have to use that. And I do have a white just to use to add some highlights or some lighten up some areas that I would like to have a little bit lighter than my lightest blue. Not sure if I'll use that yet, we'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the little tentacles, and I want those to be dark, and I'm going to use two different shades. So I'm going to use Ocean Depths and just trying to find another one. Okay, I think I have it. I just need to find the pencil and nautical blue. So the tentacles are split up into little segments. So I'm going to color every other one in the first color, which is Ocean Depths, and then fill in the rest with the nautical blue. I like these really small areas because you can just color them in. You don't really have to burnish or worry about coloring in, filling in all of the white spaces, because it pretty much does it with one layer. So I hope you're joining me to color along. If you have this page, great. Or if you have another Millie Marotta book and you can do another page, that is great. Although, of course, you don't have to color along. I know I've said this before, but sometimes I just like to watch color alongs. If I'm sitting and coloring something totally different, I like to watch color alongs just to get new ideas. And sometimes it's fun to just have someone coloring along with you. So I did not choose these colors particularly to go together. Some of them are different shades of blue, some of them, or tones of blue. I'm not sure which of those words fits. But some of them are more green, some of them are more blue. I just chose the shades that I like the best. So I wasn't really worrying about the tones and if they would all be in the same color family. I just wanted to use blues that I like. So I finished with the first spots and now I'm going to fill in the rest with the nautical blue. I'm trying to stay within the lines as much as possible because I am pretty sure I'm going to be doing the background in tones of brown to make it look like sand. But I'm sort of wrestling with whether that negates the one color challenge or not. I am not quite sure. I haven't decided yet. I said I was going to color this page in one color, and if I add a sand background with brown, that's not really sticking to one color. I was then thinking about making a sandy look with blue. So I could do that as well. So I think I'm leaning more towards that, but in case I don't, I'm trying to be extra careful not to contaminate the background. So I have the antennae done. So now I'm going to do the eyes. And the eyes I am going to do in gel pen. So I have a blue gel pen. This is a glaze gel pen, a jelly roll by Sakura. And the glaze pens are super cool. They give a raised look. Excuse me. So it'll give the eyes a little bit of a 3D look, which is exactly what I want. So I'm gonna stay away from the eyes. I just put jelly roll pen on because the glazed pens take a little bit longer to dry, so I want to stay away from that. so as not to smear it. So I'm going to start on the shell right here, these two pieces. And what I thought I would do is color them with my lightest color, just give them an overall color, and then I can come in and add darker colors. So I am using the Bit of Blue. It's the lightest blue in the Brutfuner 520 set. It's a little bit on the gray side. So I'm just giving this a layer. So I hope you are having a great day. I can't believe it is almost the end of August already. So today is August 28th, 2023. My sister's birthday is the 31st. And I don't know, even though that's obviously not the end of the year, it kind of signals the end of the year for me. She's the last birthday in our family. So it kind of feels like there's an ending. I just cannot believe that next week is September 1st. This summer has gone by so fast. I would love to know in the comments what kind of crafty or coloring you have been doing this summer. I've done a lot of coloring. I finished my first book, and a video of that is on the channel if you'd like to check that out. I colored Serenity by Anastasia Ellie Caldereva. And I am actually working on a second book that I want to complete. And that is a Beauty of Horror book. And I've been having a ton of fun coloring that. It's just such a fun book. And it's so different from my other books. It's really giving me a lot of opportunity to use different colors and do some different things. And it's just really, really pleasurable. Like every time I stop coloring, whether it be for just a quick break, or if I'm stopping for the day or the evening, I think I just had so much fun coloring. And I haven't really said that in a long time. I really enjoyed coloring Serenity, but it was just a different feel. And this book is just so fun. If you're looking for a new book or a new type of book, I highly suggest The Beauty of Horror. They are just really, really fun. So I have that done. So now I'm going to choose this one, Aruba Blue. So I'm just trying to find it in my container. Okay, I didn't anticipate that it would take me this long to find my colors, but I don't want to put them on the table because my beloved feline friend Finn is hanging around, and if he jumps up on here, I don't want him to knock the pencils over because When pencils fall on the floor, there is a high probability that the leads will break. So I try to prevent that from happening. So I am keeping them in my little storage bin. So I'm going to use the Aruba Blue to add darkness to these outside shapes. And I'm just coloring around the edge of the shape. And this shade isn't that much darker, which I really like. You can see a little bit of difference, but it's not really pronounced. For some areas, I like the difference to be a little more subtle. I'm actually surprised I chose blue because I normally am not a blue girl. I don't have a lot of blue clothes. It's not that I don't like blue, but it's just not a color I usually reach for first. So I was kind of surprised that I thought of blue, but I think my rationale was that I know that the Brutfuner 520 set has a lot of blues. So I knew there would be a lot of shades to choose from, and that I really liked. Okay, so now I am going to use Horizon Blue, which is this one. Again, just as soon as I find it. As soon as he goes to sleep, I can start putting the colors out on the table and not have to worry about keeping them in the bin. I'm just going to give this one a quick sharpen. I have an AFMAT electric sharpener, battery operated actually, and I absolutely love it. That was charged about 2 months ago and it's still running on the same charge. I don't use it every single day, but I use it often. So I think it's a really good pencil sharpener. So now I am going to color this little area in here in between. And again, I'm just giving it one layer of this color, and then I'll come back with a darker color and add in some details. There's some dotted lines in these little areas, so I'll come back, I think, and go over those, or maybe color a little bit in between them. I'm not exactly sure. So next I'm going to use Caribbean Sea, which is a little bit darker. And I am going to do these little spaces here. So I don't know about you, but I am really excited for football season. I would love to know what your favorite team is. I have a few that I like, but one main team that I root for. They've done very well the last couple years, but have just missed getting into the Super Bowl final or even winning the Super Bowl. So we're hoping that this year is our year. Preseason just finished and they did okay. Not great. They ended with a 2-1 record. Last couple years, they had won all of their preseason games. So this was a little bit of a letdown, but we are still very excited and hopeful that they're going to have a great season, an even better season than they had last season. Okay. One of the things I was thinking of doing with this page is taking a gel pen at the end and either just outlining it or outlining all of the shapes. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to do that, but it's an idea. I have seen some really pretty pages where the colorist, excuse me, outlined everything, and it just makes it pop. It really gave it a special, a certain je ne sais quoi. I don't know. And I was thinking I might want to try that on this page, but I really don't know. If you've never used Brutfuner pencils before, I really, really like them. They are oil-based, so they have more oil in them than wax, although they do have both. So they're a little bit harder, but these are really nice to work with. And depending on the paper, they can work just like Prismacolors. This paper is really, really nice. It is cardstock, it's pretty thick, it's smooth. So this is a really nice surface for the Brotfuner pencils. So now I am going to go in on top of what I just did and add a darker blue. And, oops, sorry. That is Surf the Web. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of darker color kind of randomly in these little spots, just to give it a little pizzazz, a little depth. I'm not being exact at all, I'm just adding a little bit of this blue. And see, it just makes it pop a little bit over this side. And one thing I like about doing animals is that, you know, animal patterns and colors are not always consistent, and sometimes they have little splotches or dark or lighter areas in certain places. And so I really like that you can just add colors in and not worry about being 100% exact. Oh, I think Finn went to sleep, so I can leave my pencils out. So now I am going to use Aruba Blue, and I'm going to color some of the lines in here. I was going to do every other one, but I don't want it to be patterned necessarily, so I'm just gonna skip around a bit. And I'm not really gonna worry about doing it every other one. I'm just gonna color them randomly. If you are coloring this page or you're coloring another page using one color, I would love to see your finished page. I think you can post it in the community tab on YouTube, or you can join my Facebook group and post it there. Would love to see what you do, what color you chose. Or if you have any other pages that you have done with one color, I'd love to see them. So this is kind of tedious. I'm not super fond of tedious coloring, to be honest. I like to make it as easy and as fast as I possibly can usually. So this is not very fun. I'm really just trying to finish it up. So if you're anything like me, you are always on the lookout for new books. So I peruse Amazon quite often, regardless of whether I'm going to buy a new book or not. And I'm really trying to not buy any more books. I have close to 150 at this point, and I really need to color in the ones that I have. Although there are some that I'm going to be buying eventually. New Beauty of Horror is going to be coming out. I believe there's a new one from another one of my favorite coloring book artists. I'm not sure who it is at this point or what book, but I know I'm going to want that one. So I'm kind of saving up for that. But anyway, I always look for new books and was really excited to see that Kirby Roseanne's is having a new book come out. I believe it's set for 2025. And I found this out on Facebook, not through Amazon, but I am so excited about that. I was really sad when he announced that Alien Worlds would be his final book for a while. And I'm so glad that he is making that a while be not so long. I just absolutely love his books. If you like Kirby Roseanne's books, let me know in the comments and let me know what ones you have. I have all of the world's books. I'm not a big fan of his previous books because I don't really like the hidden picture thing, all the doodles and random objects that are in there. I just don't care for that. I know a lot of people do, but that's just not something that I enjoy in coloring books. So I have not purchased those, and I don't see myself purchasing them in the future. I really wish that he would release versions of those books that don't have the hidden images in them, because I think the books are beautiful. The images are beautiful. All of his images are gorgeous. But I just don't like all those little doodles and hidden objects that don't go with the picture. So I'll be leaving those, but I'm hoping his new book will not have that. I don't remember what the name of the new book is, but I am just really excited. I'm going to be definitely purchasing that one. All right, so I finished that. So now I'm going to use cyan blue and color a few more stripes in these little sections. And then I'll use one more blue to finish up each little section. I definitely want to complete a Kirby book. I have quite a few pictures done in Mythic World already, so I'm kind of thinking that that one might be the one I do after I finish the current one I'm working on, which is A Beauty of Horror. But I'm not 100% sure. I really, really love Worlds Within Worlds, and I have not colored one page in that book yet, and I really, really want to do it, so I might choose that one, but I'm not sure. I'd love to know if you've finished any of Kirby Roseanne's books. If you have them, let me know. I'm not sure if Millie Marotta is coming out with a new book in the near future. If you know, I'd love to know the answer to that. I have 2 of her books, and they're both compilation books. So I have this one, and then I have, I'm not exactly sure what that book is called, but it's also a compilation. I don't know why I keep buying the compilation books. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it or method to the madness. I think it just works out that way. So I am about halfway, maybe a little more than halfway, done with the challenges that I set for myself, the coloring challenges. So I'm already starting to think of new challenges that I want to fulfill. I watched a video by Sarah Renee Clark, I believe last week, and she did some challenges in that video, and they were different challenges than I think I would have ever thought of. She did a page in Hannah Carlson's book, and she did like a pen, she did it where it looked pixelated, she did some things that I never would have thought of. But one of the challenges that she did was to color a pop art style page, and I really, really liked that. So I think pop art is going to be one of my challenges for 2024. So now I'm going to finish these sections with Dresden blue. So I'm just coloring in all the open spots. I might leave a few of the light ones, the base color here and there. Again, just to give a little bit more depth to the page, a little bit of interest. I am so ready to be done with this fussy coloring. Kind of makes me think of like fussy cutting digital elements when you print some digital elements and then you have to cut around all of the edges. I don't like doing that either. So I'm really not liking this fussy coloring. But I'm liking the end result, so I am okay with that. I like how it looks so far. Almost done. Yay. I think I've decided that on the background, I'm going to make it blue. I don't want to introduce another color. I think that goes against the challenge. And so I am going to try to make a blue sandy background. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, I think I'm done. All right, I'm just checking. I think there are some sections that I left out, so just making sure I got everything the way I want it. All right. So for these kind of circle areas, I'm going to do a light blue and then add a darker blue in. So I'm going to use angel blue and add some color on the bottom. Or I should say the narrowest part of those little sections. Okay. And, oops, sorry about that. I am going to now take a darker blue. This is Provence. And I'm just going to do the top section or bar of these half circles. I'm actually really liking the freedom of coloring in just one color. The only thing you really have to worry about is what tone or shade you're going to use. And I kind of like that. And I'm going to do this little section right here in that same color. So now I'm going to use nautical blue again, and I'm going to add some of the darker blue in these middle areas. So I'm kind of following the dotted lines, but not too closely. Just giving it a little tiny bit of this darker color. Okay. I'm just checking my next color. Okay. So I'm going to use water blue next, and I'm going to color these little crescents. At least some of the top ones. I think I'm going to change colors as they get larger. All right, so now I'm going to start I'm just going to add a little bit of this color in there to make a transition. And now I'm going to go to Sky Pearl Blue. This is not the same shade. It's not our tone. And that's okay. I want it to look different. This almost reminds me of a pine cone. Okay, now I'm going to start transitioning to the next color. And I am going to use Arcadia. This has more green in it. Okay, and now I'm going to finish them up with blue aster. Okay. Oh, I like that. That's cool. Okay. So I am going to color this whole section, kind of the head, in Atlantis. And I'm going to do it very lightly. And I'm not going around what I just colored. I'm going to color right over it. I'm going to go slightly darker around its mouth. just going to use a random color on this little spot here. There's some spots that are unfinished in the bottom part. So I'm just going to color those in. Okay. So now that I've pretty much finished this section here, I'm just going to add some shadow. And I don't see that as using a different color, because if I did blue, it just wouldn't show up as shadow. So I am using a Prismacolor 70% Cool Gray to add some shadowing around the shapes. So I'm going to stop there. I have definitely more shadowing to do, but I want to color some more first. All right, so I am going to do some Persian Jewel. I'm actually going to sharpen this first. So I'm going to do this color, and this is a little bit on the purpley side. I'm going to add a little bit of color right above all of these little crescent areas. Just kind of random. Especially here, there's no shape to fill in, so I'm just kind of going in a circular motion and just kind of adding that in. And then I'm not going to fill in the other ones completely. I'm just going to continue to add color kind of in the center. And you may be wondering why I haven't blended anything yet. I just want to wait until I feel finished, and then I will blend, because really once you blend, it's really hard to add anything else on top of that, because the blender adds wax to it. So I just want to make sure I have everything how I want it. And I'm going to add a little bit of this blue in the center of these two sections here. Okay. So I have these striped areas here. To be honest, I don't feel like coloring stripes again. So I think I am going to just add a little bit of color around the edges of each one of those. So I am going to use Pool Green. And even though this says Pool Green, when I was swatching it, it really looked more blue to me. So I put it in with the blues. I think it could go either way. It definitely has a green tint, but I definitely thought that it was bluish. So I'm just going around the edges of these little sections. Some it's a little harder because they're smaller, but okay. All right. Yes, I like that. Okay. So now I'm going to take my gray and I'm going to do a little bit of darkness very lightly around these shapes. To give a hint of shadow. One thing I've learned when you're doing shadows is to be really, really light. Be very, very light-handed because you can always add more color. But if you put too much and you don't like it, it's really hard to take it off. Yes, you can erase, but erasing doesn't usually take it off completely. So some people like to do the shadows after they blend. I do sometimes, it just depends. I think on this, I want it to be a little more blendy, so I'll be okay with blending it in. All right. So I think I'm done with this part here, so I'm going to go ahead and use my blender and blend. As you can see, I'm not being totally perfect. Because again, this is an animal. Its skin or outer areas are not going to be perfect. They're going to have little imperfections. I'm just looking to blend areas that maybe I didn't color completely. Okay, I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to add a little bit of white to these sections just to make sure that they look highlighted. All right. So looking at this section, I think I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and add my shadows in around these little sections here. ones as well. I feel like they could definitely be a layer. And as you can see, or as you're probably noticing, I don't really pay attention to light sources or anything like that. I either shadow everything evenly or I shadow all on the right. I don't really pay attention to, oh, there's light source coming here, where would the shadows be? I just don't give it that much thought. Okay, I like that so far. So now I'm going to work on this bottom section here. So I am going to use the corn flour and just give this a layer on the whole thing. Just to give it a base. I'm doing everything except for this little stripe part. I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. Okay. So I have a really pretty light blue gel pen, and I think that might look really nice on these little edges. So I'm gonna do that. And this is Sakura Jelly Roll. And I'm not sure what color this is. It doesn't give an exact color, but it's the metallic. So it's the blue that's in the metallic set of jelly rolls. It strikes me as so funny that the jelly rolls work really well for every color except for white. I just cannot understand it. I'm wondering if there's something with the ink, with the formulation, that's different between pigmented colors and I guess you could say non-pigmented color of white. But I've never had a problem with any jelly roll color other than white. I cannot get the white ones to work. I have about 6 of them, and I'm kind of holding off throwing them away. They haven't worked since I bought them, and I don't know, I can't bring myself to throw them away because I feel like, well, maybe one day it will work. Maybe one day I will miraculously try to use it and it will be fine. But I'm not very hopeful with that. So I really don't understand if they can make the colors, the pigments work. I don't know why white can't work. What is your favorite white pen? I like the, I have one right here. So I like the Uniball Signo. If you've watched some of my other videos, I have shared that before. That is my favorite one. It almost always works. You can use it over pretty much anything. So I've used it on top of Posca paint. I've used it on top of gelatos, on top of pencils, wax and oil-based. I've used it on chalk pastels. And it almost always works perfectly. So I really like that pen. And what's really cool about them is that they're available anywhere. It's not like they're a difficult pen to find. Okay, so have that done. I hope you can see how shiny it is. That pen is really pretty. So now I have to do, actually I think this is part of the legs. So I think I have to do this little section, these two little sections here, and then I'm done with the main body. So I definitely want this part to be dark. So I'm going to use lapis blue. I'm just going to make sure not to disturb any of the gel pen that I just put down. It shouldn't be too hard. And then I'm going to take a darker color, Ocean Depths, and just go over the sides and bring that to the middle. Again, just to give a little bit of depth to this. Okay. Now for this part, all right, I haven't used Blue Grotto yet, so I'm going to use that. I'm just going to color over the whole thing, and then I'll use a different color to come back over every other stripe. All right, and I'm going to use, Fanfare. This is a little bit of a greenish one, I believe. Yep. I'm just coloring every other one of these little stripes or sections. And now I'm just going to take a darker blue, snorkel blue, and just add a little bit to the bottom here and fade that going up. All right, I am done with that. I'm going to come back and add some shadow around this section here. So now can move on to the legs. So now I'm going to start the legs, but I just wanted to share with you. So I added a little bit more to this while I was off camera. So I took a darker color, and I can't even remember what it was. I just grabbed one. And I shaded a little bit around the edges here. And I added a little bit of shading around this half and then around here. And it just gives a little bit more dimension. And then I did the same down here. And now I am just going to add a little bit of color in the middle of these little spaces here. I'm just doing a little rub of color just to, again, give it a little more definition. So let me show that up close to you so you can see that, what I did. So I just added a teeny tiny bit of color in the center of those little spaces. So now I am going to start on the claws, the legs. So I actually pulled out some colors that I would like to use for each leg, so I don't have to go searching while I'm on camera. So it should make it go much faster. So for the claw, I want to do the claw in the darkest colors because I want it to stand out. So the colors I'm using on the claw are nautical blue, blue aster, Arcadia, which is more of the bluish green, mosaic blue, and surf the web. So if you're not using Brutfuner, you could just use any dark blues that you would like to. Again, I did not match tone, so these are going to be a little bit different tonally, but I'm okay with that. So the darkest one of them all is the nautical blue. So I am going to do some of the spaces on the top of the claws in that darkest blue. And I'm going to alternate every other space and then add one of the other colors in the other spot. So make this look striped. I'm just going to go back over them. I want them to be pretty dark. I'm going to do the same with this little one. And I'm going to do the other spaces with Surf the Web, which is a color that's pretty close to this one. So they will look similar. But there will be a little bit of a difference, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so that part of the claw is done. So for this part, I'm going to give it an all over color of the Arcadia, which is the greenish blue. I'm trying to make it even, but not totally dark or saturated, because I'm going to color some of the stripes different colors. So I want it to be fully colored, but not too dark. So I'm going to take the blue aster and I'm going to do the top stripe and one other stripe. And I'm going to vary the other stripe that I do. I'm going to do different ones on each one. Again, just to give a little variation, a little interest. let's say I'm using medium pressure. And now I'm going to use mosaic blue to fill in one other stripe. And again, I'm going to vary which stripe I fill in on each one. And now I'm going to use Nautica blue and fill in one more stripe. Going to do a second one in this larger one. It's just left a little bit too much space open. Okay. So that's done. So now I'm going to do this bottom part. And this part, I'm going to do the same on this up here as down here, even though I'm going to do this part lighter. So I'm gonna do that in Aruba blue. I can find my Aruba blue. Okay, here's my Aruba. All right, so I'm actually going to color all of this same design on all of the legs Aruba blue. I'll probably add something else to it as well. But right now I'm just going to give them a basic layer of the Aruba blue. You may hear things falling and crashing to the floor. My cat Finn is knocking things over, so he's having a great time. Just making things fall on the floor, and then he stands and looks at them. The cat I had before him, she would knock things on the floor too. It's a cat thing. But she would actually then jump down and play with it, bat it around, do whatever. but Finn just knocks them down and just looks at them. Okay. So this one, I think I'm going to use the Arcadia and the nautical blue. So I'm gonna try something here. I'm going to color the little leaf-like pattern in the nautical blue first, and then I'm going to color over the whole thing with the other color and see what happens. That color should change the color of these a little bit, which is fine, which is what I want. I want it to look a little bit different. And now I'm going to take the Arcadia and just go over the whole thing. Okay. So now I'm going to take Surf the Web and go around the outsides and add a little bit of darkness, shadow, whatever you'd like to call it. I apologize for the loud noises if you're hearing them. I have upstairs neighbors that are very rude. Okay. If I wasn't on camera right now, I would probably be banging on the ceiling. And I just go beyond a little bit to bring it out a little bit. Then I'm going to do the same down here. And then I'm going to take some gray and do it up on top, since these colors are pretty dark. It's very, very subtle. You don't want a lot. I just go very, very lightly, and then I keep going back over it to add more if I want more. That way I can control it better. So you just see a little bit there. And then I'm just going to do a little white in the center to lighten it up. Just to help it look a little more 3D. Okay. It also blends it a little bit too. Okay, so claw is done. And now I'm going to do this part here. So the colors I've chosen for that section, I'm going to do that here and here, and carry this down into this little section here too as well, are Blue Topaz, Angel Blue, Aquarius, and Provence. So I'm going to color the wider stripes, the wider sections, in the Angel Blue, which is my lightest color. Okay. Now I'm just doing the other side. Okay. So next I'm going to do Blue Topaz. I'm going to choose one of these smaller ones. These pencils work so nicely on this paper. You really don't need to burnish or blend or use a blender too much. Okay. Now I'm going to use the Aquarius. Now on this one I didn't use it because it only has two and I want to put the darker color there. So and now I'm going to finish with the Provence, which is the darkest of the four colors, excuse me. I can't count. All right, and now I'm going to take a darker color. This is lapis blue, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did up here. I'm going to color a little bit around the edges to give it a little bit of shadow and depth. And again, I go very, very lightly to begin with because you can always add more color. It's really hard to get rid of it once you put it on and it's too dark. And I'm just going to blend this a bit with the blender just to make sure that it's not showing my pencil marks. That pencil was a little scratchy. I just don't know if it was how I sharpened it or if it's just that color, but Sometimes after you use a blender, you do have to add a little bit back because the blender will take a little bit of the color off. So I just added a little bit back in there. I'm also going to blend this as well. Okay. So that's that section. So now I am going to, I have 4 colors, so I'm going to use each color on one of these sections, and then I'm going to do 2 sections of the darkest color, which is the Provence. So I'll do this section here, Provence, as well as this one. And then maybe this one here. And then 1 piece each for the other colors. Oh, actually, there's 1 extra one, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to use this one twice as well, that little space in there. Okay. So for that one, I'm again going to take the lapis blue and just very, very thinly and gently go around the edges. I don't want to do too much because I don't want it to overpower. Okay. All right, so now I am going to do this one. So I'm going to continue with these 4 colors. So this part I think I want to be the darkest, so I'm going to use the Provence on this one. So I'm going to color every other space with this color, which is the darkest of the 4 that I've been using. I'm going to give this pencil a quick sharpen. I'm just going to go over these spaces one more time to make them a little darker. Make sure they're nice and saturated. And I think I'm going to use the lightest blue, which is the angel blue, to finish out this. Okay. And now I'm going to use all 4 of the blues to color these random little pebbly spots. So I actually picked up a different color. So this is the Aquarius. I put down the other one. I think I'm going to add one more color and I'm just going to grab another one. So I am just grabbing Blue Grotto and I'm going to add that to the rest of the spots that are open. Okay, so now I'm going to take a darker color. I'm taking Caribbean Sea. I'm going to do the same thing, go around the edge of the claws and this part. Again, very, very lightly. I'm gonna blend this a bit. Now, if you wanted to, you could use one color for this process on all of the spaces. But I just like to vary them. I think it again gives it a little bit more variety and whimsy and adds to the overall look of the piece instead of doing just one color. All right, so we have the front two legs done. I really like how this is looking so far. It is coming together. So now I am going to work on the two smaller legs, I think. Not sure why. So I've chosen 4 colors for the smallest legs, and I'm using Horizon Blue, Norse Blue, Regatta, and Aruba Blue. And again, if you're not using Brutfuners, or you're using a different color, or you just want to use different shades than I am, any shades will work. So I am going to use the Aruba Blue to color in the bottom little part of the leg first with all over color, and then I'll color into each individual little leafy piece. And I'm actually going to color in those little leaves with blue gel pen. So again, I'm using a blue metallic jelly roll pen. You could use any gel pen that you wanted to, or you could just color these in with pencil. I just want to give a little bit of sparkle down there. So now I want to be extra careful not to smear that. So I am going to work on this top part. So I'm going to use the Aruba to color the largest sections of this leg. Okay, so I'm going to use Regatta next and color one or two of the stripes. In these sections that have 4, I'm going to color 2. And if they only have 3, I'm just going to color 1 because I have 2 more colors left. And again, I'm varying which stripe I color. And then I'm going to take the other 2 colors, Norse blue and horizon blue, and finish up the stripes. to color this whole section in the horizon blue. And then I'm gonna do 1 or 2 stripes here or there in the other colors, just kind of alternating. I'm not gonna fill in all of the stripes because I want some to be just the background. Okay. So there's those 2 legs. And again, I am going to take a darker color. So I'm using Snorkel Blue this time, and I'm gonna go around the edges again, very lightly. To add dimension to these little sections. I'm just using 1 color for each because the sections are pretty small. Okay, top and bottom legs are done. We just have the 4, 2 on each side. No legs to go. So for these 2 legs, I'm going to use cyan blue, Dresden blue, bit of blue, pool green, and Atlantis. So this one will have, these 2 legs will have a little bit more of a green tint to them, which should give it a little interest. So this little section here, I'm going to do Atlantis. then I'm going to take a random darker color. So I'm just pulling out Caribbean Sea, and I'm just going to go over these little dotted lines. Not with any precision or anything, just to give it a little more color. And I'm going to take that Caribbean Sea and go around the edges very lightly and in a very thin layer, because this is a really small little section. So I don't want too much of that. So I'm going to do this section next, and I'm going to color over the whole thing with the bit of blue. This is the lightest color. I think I already used this on a few other sections as well. I'm going to do a couple of layers. I'm not necessarily burnishing, but I want it to be a little darker and more opaque than normal. Okay. So I've been trying to decide whether I want to color all of the little individual stripes. And I think I do, because I did it here and I think it would carry this idea with the multi-striped sections up here, which I think will help to balance it. So no matter how much it kills me and how long it's going to take and how I hate this little finicky coloring, I'm gonna do that. So I am taking the Dresden blue, and I'm gonna start with that and just color a random sampling of these little stripes in each little section. I'm going to try to do a different number of the stripes in each color as well, for a little interest and variety. I want to do that on the other side too. Almost forgot that. I am making stuffed peppers for dinner, stuffed bell peppers. And I have the peppers pre-boiling in some water. It really helps to soften them up a little bit. So when you put them in the oven stuffed, you don't have to leave them in as long, and the peppers are already softened up. It has really made a difference, and they are starting to smell so good. I love bell peppers. They are one of my favorite vegetables, and I tend to eat them a lot. I tend to put peppers in a lot of different items that I make. Okay, so now I'm going to do Atlantis. So I think I mentioned earlier that I'm looking for more challenges to do for 2024, and I will make a video of those. And I saw someone's completed page. It was a page in a Hannah Carlson book, and absolutely fell in love with it, and I am so excited to do that as a challenge. So now I'm using cyan blue. So what she did was she colored the entire background, actually the entire page, with watercolor and I think some dish soap, and I'm not sure if she used something else, and it made this really bubbly, kind of watery looking background. It was gorgeous. And then she took a gold Posca pen and outlined the entire image. And so all you have is this blue background and then the image outlined in gold. And it is so pretty. And so I definitely want to add that to my challenges for the new year and do that. I don't know if I will do the soap. I'm not sure if I'll add that, but I think I can, even if I don't make the same kind of background, I can definitely use the same philosophy or idea. And create a really, really pretty page. I have a lot of Posca pens, gel pens that I can use to outline the image, so I am really excited to try that. And I don't know, I might not even be able to wait till next year. I might try it this year. So now I'm just going over these lighter areas with the bit of blue again, just to darken them up a bit. So now I'm going to pull out another random darker color. I pulled out Daphne, and I'm going to color around the outside edge of these two sections, adding a little bit of shadow and dimension. Okay, so now I'm going to do the next section. So I think I am going to color random sections in different colors, and I will leave a few to color in the gel pen. Add a little bit of shimmer to this section. I'm gonna do that last, so I don't have to worry about letting the gel pen dry. I often forget about that. I get so excited to do the gel pen and to see what it looks like, and then I forget that I'm still coloring and I need to be able to do that, and I have to let the gel pen dry. So I kind of shoot myself in the foot sometimes with that. So I'm not going to do that this time, and I'm going to save it for last. So now I'm trying to plan a little bit where I want the gel pen ones to go. Okay, I think I have them set on this one. Okay. I'm gonna pull out my Jelly Roll metallic blue. And just fill in the remaining little scales, little sections with that. I like that, just gives it a hint of a little sparkle. Okay, so I don't know what I want to do with this section yet, but I think I want to do this in one of the more green colors, so I'm going to do it with the pool green. So this is the actual claw. I think that will look neat, having a little bit of a greeny tint to it. More green than blue. And I'll do the same. I'm just gonna grab a darker blue. I'm grabbing Snorkel, and I'm just gonna lightly go over the little dotted lines just to give a little bit of interest. And now I'm going to take that color and very lightly go around the edges. And now I'm just going to add a little white to the center. It's very subtle, but it just gives it a little bit more 3D-ness, I guess, making it look a little bit more like it's not a flat object and actually a claw. Okay, so this next section, I think I'm going to do a base of Dresden blue. And I think I'm going to use my metallic gel pen again and do some of these stripes in gel pen as well as the cyan blue. The cyan blue is not going to add a whole lot of darkness, but it will change the color a little bit subtly on some of these stripes. I'm actually doing the thicker ones in the cyan. It's very, very subtle. Let me hold that up so you can see that a little bit better. So it's very, very subtle, but you can see a little bit of a color difference. And that's what I want. I want it to be very subtle. And now I'm going to do a few of the others in the gel pen, and that's it. Okay, I like that. And I just have to let that dry before I do a little bit of a outline. And I realized I don't think I did the kind of shadow on this section either. So I gotta come back and do those. But while that dries, I'm gonna work on the last two legs. And for these two, I'm using Sky Pearl Blue, which is supposed to be one of the metallics, but I don't know. I don't think it looks that metallic. Malibu Blue, Persian jewel, directoire blue, the French word, and air blue. So this one is a little bit darker. This leg, or these legs, will be a little bit darker. So I think I'm going to start with the claws, and I'm going to do those in the lightest color that I chose, and that's the air blue. So I'm gonna I always think this color is really weird because air really doesn't have a color or pigment to it. So I always thought this was interesting that they called a blue air blue. So I'm going to take one of the darker colors and go around the outside edge of this. I'm not going to go over the dotted lines on this one. Just going to leave that. And again, I'm going to do a little bit of white in the center. So for this section, I think I want that to be the darkest. So I'm going to give that an all over layer of the directoire blue. So now I'm going to use my gel pens again. So I have the metallic, and then I also have, if I can find it, this is the glaze blue, and this is a darker one. This is a navy. So I'm going to do random alternating little scales in both of these blues. Maybe. Okay. There we go. Okay. I was worried the glaze one wasn't going to work, but it does. Okay. And I'm just outlining them first to make it a little easier to fill them in. Because the nib is sort of thick, so I don't want to put too much on. You know what, actually I think I'm going to finish both colors on this one, and then I can move over this one and be sure that I'm not going to smear it. The metallic one definitely isn't showing up as much, but you still can see it. It'll be a little more subtle, and that's actually okay. I might have to put a second layer on those. We'll let that dry. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It just got really dark here. It is going to be raining soon. I'm not sure if it's thunderstorms or just rain, but all of a sudden, the amount of sunlight that I have has just plummeted. And there wasn't that many to begin with. It's kind of a cloudy day here, so. Yeah, I may have to add another coat of this lighter blue. It is very difficult to see. All right, so going to go back now and do the sort of shadow outline on those two sections. So I'm going to use lapis blue. I'm just going to use lapis blue on both of them. I'm just going to make sure that I am not touching any of the gel pen that I just colored. Okay, yeah. That is looking much better. All right. So just two sections to go on our little crab friend here. So this one, I don't think I'm going to color all the individual stripes in there. So I am going to use the air blue and give it an all over color. And then I'm going to use the sky pearl blue around the outside. Whoops, my point just broke. Gotta sharpen that. Ugh, I don't know why my points keep breaking off. And I'm just gonna go a little bit deeper and do more of a deeper outline around the outside edge so it shows up a little better. And now I'm going to do a inside layer of Malibu blue right inside this section. And as I'm doing this, I'm going over the darker color that I just added as well. to help blend them in a little bit. All right, and now we have the last section. So I think I'm going to use this Malibu blue and give this an all over layer. And I'm going to use the Dresden blue and the Sky Pearl blue and fill in the rest of these kind of randomly. I think I'm going to use the Dresden solely on these little outer ones. And now I'll just randomly fill in some of the others. And now I'm going to finish up with the Sky Pearl blue, which is a dark color as well, but not as dark. So it gives a little bit of difference. And now I'm going to get bluegrass and go around the edges. right, so blue crab is finished. So I'm just looking to make sure that I don't want to add anything else. So I think I'm just going to add a little bit of white here. I'm not sure it's doing anything, but I was thinking just to make it look a little bit lighter so it looks more like there's sort of a curve in there. And I'm gonna come down the middle of this one and do a little white. The Butfuner white is not as good as the Prismacolor white. The Prismacolor white is fantastic, but I'm not near my Prismacolor white right now, so I'm just using my Butfuner one. So on this section, I'm going to come in and do a few more of these lighter blue scales. And I'm just going to go over the ones that I already did. As well. I actually see that I need to smooth out my blue pencil on that one, so I'll do that as soon as those dry. All right, so I think I have it the way I want it to look. So now we get to do the background. So use my scrap sheet of paper to put that behind, and I'll just move it just so I don't get any of the chalk pastel on the page below. So I'm going to grab my soft pastel sticks. So you can see that mine are kind of a mess. I have dropped the box a few times. Finn knocked it down at least once. But even though they're in little pieces, they still work really well. So I keep them. So I want to do kind of a sandy look, because normally I would do sand with brown, but because I actually want to keep this blue, I want to keep it one color for the whole entire page, not just the image. I am going to do blue sand, and I have never done blue sand before, so we'll see how this turns out. So I'm going to use the lightest blue that I have, which is this one. And I am just going to do an all over color with this chalk. When I'm using chalk pastels, I never worry about being too precise or exact, because when I use the applicator, that spreads it out and allows you to get in all of the little smaller areas with more precision. So I don't really worry about that. Some people don't like using chalk pastels because of all the dust. It doesn't really bother me. I don't mind it because for me, the ease of using the pastels just negates any dust issues that there are with them. They're just so easy to use, so easy to blend. For me, so much easier to get certain looks that would take me a really long time or might be impossible to achieve with colored pencil. All right. So I am going to use a brand new eyeshadow applicator. I get them from Amazon in pretty big packages, like 200 or 300 for like $5. So it's really great. So now I'm just gonna work all of this chalk into the paper. And there are lots of different applicators you can use. You can use foam applicators. You could use a brush. If you wanted to use a brush, I would say you'd want to use a very small one and a stiff one. You could use ink applicators, applicators that you would use for ink. You could use sponges. I think it just depends on your own preference. I like the eyeshadow applicators because they are small and they allow me to grip them really easily. They're double-ended, at least the ones that I purchase. So I get 4 heads or tips on them. And then they're really cheap. And you don't have to worry about washing it or rinsing it or anything when they're worn out, because they get little tears in them eventually. You just throw them away and replace them. And they're not that expensive to replace. Oh my gosh, I just realized I forgot a section on the leg. On this leg right here. So I'm gonna go back and color that in just a minute. And what I do with all of the dust, I try to just push it in the paper. I try to smash it in there. So not only so it saturates the paper, but you're not wasting as much of the chalk. and then you don't have as much dust that you're blowing off. Some people wear a mask, and you can wear a mask if you're using chalk pastels, if you are vulnerable health-wise or have asthma or just don't want to inhale any of the dust. If I'm using chalk pastels for a long time, like if I'm going to be coloring multiple pages and using chalk pastels on all of them or most of them, I will put on a mask. For this, I don't have a mask on, but I would, if I was doing like a bunch more pages and using the chalk pastels, I would put a mask on. So now as you can see, I have very little dust left over because I am really grinding it into the paper. Just gonna blow that away. All right, before I go any further, I'm going to color that little section, and I'm gonna do that with gel pen. Okay. All right, and that gel pen is dry on these sections. So I'm going to use my colorless blender to blend out some of this. I did not focus on burnishing or making sure the color was totally solid, so there was a lot of just unfinished areas, and I think it looks better with a little blending. Okay. And now I realize I need to go back around the edges to darken them up again because I just blended it all out. I didn't realize this little section, not super little, but relatively small section of a leg was going to be so difficult. Okay. All right, much better. Okay. Got a little bit of pencil on that. Okay. All right, so now that I have the base layer for the quote-unquote sand, I am going to pull out all of my other blues And these will be speckled on. All right, so I think this might be blue too. Yep. So I have 8 more shades of blue. So here they are. So I'm going to take one that's a little bit darker, but not the darkest, and just add some random splotches of this color around, just to give the sand a little bit more variation in its base color. And I'm using the same side of the applicator to rub this in. That helps to blend it. If you didn't want to give a sand look, you could do a water look with the blues. Perfect color to do that. Okay, so now I am going to do the speckling. So I'm going to take each color and I'm going to dot it on the paper. All over, just randomly. Some of the little specks will be larger, some will be smaller. And this is what you want. This is a really fun technique that I just sort of devised and made up to do sand. Again, I haven't done it with any other color other than browns to look like real sand. I'm excited to see how my blue sand turns out. And I'm just laying each color to the side so I know that I've already used it. That was too dark, so. Okay. So I dab that on too dark, so I just smear it with my finger so it wasn't so dark and the splotches weren't so big. I'm gonna do one more color. Right now. And it doesn't matter what colors you use when. I just picked them up randomly. I wasn't choosing any particular colors. Ooh. Yipes. Okay. So now I'm going to take a clean side to my applicator, and I'm very lightly going to swipe over these dots. I'm not trying to blend them completely. I'm just smearing them a little bit. Hi everyone, it is now the next day and I am going to be finishing up our blue crab, but I wanted to address an issue that happened with the previous segment. So I was just coloring along, and when I looked up, I realized that my phone was no longer recording because I had run out of storage. So I looked back at where that segment ended, and I did a few additional steps between then and now. So I'm just going to walk you through what I did. So after I finished spreading out that initial layer of speckles and dots, I then did more speckles and dots. I put another layer on with, I think, 3 more colors. And then I spread that out. So that's where I am now. And with that layer, I made sure it was very smooth. I went around the edges with my applicator to ensure that there's a nice finished edge on the page. So that's where I am now. So it was 2 additional steps basically. So now what I'm going to do is just finish adding speckles to the top, and that will be the last step. So I'm just picking up random blues, and I'm so sorry about the noise in the background. My cat is vigorously playing with some paper that I have on the table. I often use it as a blotter if I'm painting or doing something excessively dirty, and he just loves to play with that. So that's what all the crunching was. Of course, now he stops. Oh, he's picking it up again. So I apologize for the little bit of noisiness you may hear in the background. Now, if you wanted to, you could smooth out a little bit more. This is just a really simple process, although it's time consuming and a little tedious, but it just depends on the look that you are going for. So just as I'm adding more dotting and speckling, I'm noticing some places that I probably will smooth out a little bit, like in here. This is a little dark for me, so I may do a little bit more smoothing out once I'm finished with adding all of the speckles that I want. Now you could use fewer colors. You could have fewer speckles. Again, you can modify and vary this to look the way you want it. Okay, I think I have all of the speckles on that I want. So I'm gonna get a new eyeshadow applicator, and I'm just gonna smooth out a little bit in some random spots. Yeah, that was a little dark, so I just needed to spread that out a little bit. Sometimes the speckles turn out a little harsh, and you just need to smooth them out a little bit. Okay, and you can keep playing with your sand. I think I like mine the way it is. It is definitely nice and speckled, looks sandy, except for the color, but I actually like it. I think it works with what we were trying to do. So now what I'm going to do is add some shadows to the crab. So I'm going to use my Carb Othello pencils, and I have a gray picked out. I'm using somewhat of a dark gray. If you happen to have the Carb Othellos, this is number 770. So this is not the darkest gray, but it is a dark gray. So I am going to lightly shade along the right edge of most everything on this side, and then I'm going to come in and do a little bit here as well. I do not use theory or any kind of, oh, the light source is here, and so this is where the shadows would be. I don't do that. I just put where the shadows look good to me. So that's what I do. So I tend to place them on the right side. So I am just very lightly, I'm using the side of the pencil. And if it gets a little dark or overdone, I have my applicator that I can use to smooth that out. So that got a little dark there, so I just smooth that out. I go a little bit on the inside there, and then I come on the outside of that curl there. So you can do your shadows anywhere that you like. I just add them in for a little bit of pop and a little bit of realism. I don't want it to look like this is a three-dimensional object, or I do want it to look like it's a three-dimensional object. I don't want it to look like it's a one-dimensional object. I'm using a very light touch, because again, you can always add more, but it's hard to take it away once it's there. And as I go, I'm just going to use the applicator very lightly to just smooth that out so it's not so harsh. I don't want it to disappear, but I just want it to look more subtle. So now I have an initial line on the right side. I'm just going to go a little bit wider to make it the shadow be a little bit more prominent in places. And then I'm again going to just smooth that out a bit. You don't have to add shadows at all. Some people don't like to, and that's totally fine. It's, again, this is your artwork, your piece, so whatever you like. I do like mine to look as realistic as I can make it within my artistic limits. So now I'm going to do a little bit of the same thing to the other side of Mr. Crab here. On this antenna. I don't know why I was calling it tentacles before. So on this antenna, I'm doing the shadow on the opposite side. Again, I don't know if that is artistically correct, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, I think I messed up there a little bit, but that's okay. And now again, I'm just going to smooth out. Okay, I think I got it the way I want it for the most part. So there is the finished crab, done all in shades of blue. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you colored along with me or did similar page or used one color on whatever page you wanted to do. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to see your finished pages. You can post them on my Instagram or my Facebook group, or I think you can post them on the community tab here in Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic and a very crafty day.